TIL that the US had a maximum speed limit of 55 miles per hour from 1974–1995. It was initially put in place to save fuel due to the oil crisis but was later promoted as a safety measure. A timeline seems off. I graduated in '91, yet prior to graduation the limit went from 55–65. The boomers went on and on about how we were all going to die if we didn't run out of gas first. The next year or two is when cars came out with daytime running lights. The boomers of course thought that was sent by the devil. They thought the added electricity was going to run you out of gas and cause you to go broke with replacement bulbs. I distinctly remember in 1988 returning from a few months in Germany, headed to West Germany, and as we drove home from the airport on the interstate, it felt so slow to be driving 55 miles per hour. It seemed like I could get out and walk faster. Even in the 80s, we were driving around Germany at 100 plus 120 mile per hour, and even then you'd have the occasional Porsche or BMW flyby at significantly faster speeds. The max speed limit was raised to 65 on rural interstates in the mid-80s however. I know this because I used to drive 500 miles back and forth to school in the 80s, and I remember when they raised it. In West Virginia, even though it was supposed to be only rural interstate, they didn't care and raised it on state highways as well. The drag coefficient increases like crazy over about 50 miles per hour, but another way to save fuel with a national speed limit would be in car design. Most modern cars are overpowered to be able to easily go 20 miles per hour faster than the fastest speed limit. If the average normal most common cars need lower top speeds, they could be more efficient. During that time my family and I were coming back to South Central Texas from a New Mexico vacation. Early morning, I was driving and nobody for miles. Finally I saw one lone car approaching from the south. Texas troopers stopped me for doing 80 into 55 miles per hour zone. Thank you Trooper Whitehead for the warning ticket. The accident rate on the Autobahn proves that speed limits for any other reason than environmental consumption is bollocks. Most cars are wildly uncomfortable to drive above 150 km per hour 90 miles per hour anyway. It is the natural speed limit. When we moved to California in our old VW in 1975, we drove all the way across Texas at 55 miles per hour. Took forever. Last time across at an average speed of 75–85, it still took 2 days, but less time was actually spent driving. This is wrong. States were allowed to raise the speed limit to 65 in 1986, and most did. In 1995 the federal government got out of the speed limit business and states were allowed to set it at whatever they want. And in opposition some states reduced speeding tickets to effectively represent the old speed limit. You could go 15 over and only get hit with minimal fine and no points off your license. Now people don't gaff about speed limits. Clocked a guy on my truck's radar going 130 in Denver. It's unsettling when small cars or even motorcycles pass me so fast my truck shakes. I want to know what year they stopped making the 55 miles per hour so pronounced on the speedometer of American sold cars. I remember them on 80s cars but not 90s cars so much. Grew up in the 90s, still haunted by trying to figure out time to destination as roughly 50 miles per hour. Toledo to Cincy went from almost 4 hours to about 3. My mom, my whole life after 60 miles per hour. You're just aiming the car. Me, every commute I'm going 75 and every car on this road is passing me. It was about the only thing that we hated, back then, as much as we hated the metric system. Please don't me I like the metric system, I remember that, but didn't realize it lasted that long. I spent the Cold War driving on the Autobahn in Germany in a Porsche 928. I always wondered why some older vehicles had a specific 55 miles per hour mark, as well as my grandma never going over 55, literally. Yeah, we got sucked into a maximum speed limit when visiting Arizona a few years ago. Absolutely no one doing it. It's shit like this that makes me feel old. That felt like it was just last year when it was changed. Y'all getting 80 miles per hour speed limits meanwhile, and while we're slowest with a statewide 70 miles per hour limit. This was two of the main reasons why Brock Yates created the Cannonball Run. I live this 55 miles per hour nightmare. It took over 2 days to get across Texas. I remember the 55 saves lives bumper stickers before the law change. We need to bring it back too. Freeways are fucking death traps, man.